Hello everybody! Now I'm doing a highly requested video of this little baby dinosaur cardigan, if you like. A lot of people have requested it, so here it is. It's a quick project if you can crochet quick, but let's get started. So first of all, you're going to need the desired colour that you wish to have and a 3mm hook. I always go from the centre of the ball. This doesn't always work for everybody. You're going to want to chain 45 in total, so that's 44 plus 1. Yeah, so we just do that quickly. Here we go. Once you've got the right length, you're going to want to single crochet back down the chain. So that's just through the stitch, wrap round, so you've got 2 on your hook, and then pull through both. Repeat this all the way down to the end of the row, and I'll see you at the other end. Once you get to the end, you're going to want to chain 1 and then working back. So this will form the yoke of the cardigan, the top bit of the cardigan, the chest area. It's up to you how you call it. So you're going to want to double crochet 3 and then increase, double crochet 3 into each stitch and then increase into the 4th stitch. Work this all the way along until the end, and I'll see you at the end. Once you've got to the end, you'll have something that looks a little bit like this. Now, this isn't the end of what we're going to be doing, but from now on, you'll just work back and forth in double crochets, increasing each row. So you'll go on to 4 double crochets, then an increase, then the next row will be 5 double crochets, then an increase, etc., etc., until you get to 8 double crochets and an increase, so 10 stitches in total. Yeah, so just work back and forth like this until you get to that point, and I will see you when we get to that point. And here we go. For those eagle eyes of you, you will notice that it is a different time of day, but we're back to create the armholes of the cardigan. Now, I use stitch markers to mark the spaces out, but if you can, if you can count and can keep track, then that's entirely up to you. So you're going to want to mark out 16 from one end, count to 16, and mark on the 16th stitch. Then you're going to want to miss 23, and on the 24th stitch, mark again, and then double crochet 32 stitches, and then mark on that space, and then you're going to count a further 24 you're missing those 24, 23, and on the 24th stitch, mark again, and in theory, you should have 16 to finish. If you don't, it's not the end of the world. Crochet is a bit more forgiving. It doesn't really make much of a difference, but if you're a perfectionist, it will mean that you have to take the whole thing back, so it's entirely up to you. Once you have marked out your stitches and where your spaces are, you can start the next row. Everything from now on will be worked in double crochets, so that should make life a little bit easier for you. So just double crochet to your first stitch marker. You're then going to want to chain 3 so that you create a bit of an armhole or an arm space. Skip the ones that you skip to the next stitch marker, and then double crochet and work the back of the cardigan, and then just repeat this the other side, making sure that you chain 3 for under the arms. Keep watching the video to see that process. It will give you an insight and then some help as to what to do. Here we are, just getting to the armholes. I've removed the stitch marker. I've done my last stitch. Now I'm going to count, because I am rubbish at counting, and make sure that it is right. And then I'm going to chain 3. I'm an idiot and took the stitch marker out too early, so I had to mark my space with my fingers, which was a bit fiddly. But chain 3 and then double crochet into that stitch, and work the back of the cardigan. You should have 32 at the end, but like I said, if it's off slightly, it really doesn't make much difference to the cardigan and how it looks. But if you're a perfectionist, then obviously you're going to want to make sure that it's right. But that's entirely up to you. It doesn't really matter if you're a stitch or 2 out. It really doesn't matter. So we're now getting to the next stitch marker. So here again, we're going to create another armhole. So into the last stitch, take the stitch marker out, chain 3, and then skip those to 23, and into the last, remove the next stitch marker and just double crochet into that one as well, and then work to the end of the row. Now we're at the end of the row. We're just going to check our work and check how it is. This is what your cardigan should look like. Now it does look a bit peculiar, but as we get further on, it will look a lot better. You can now see that we've created the spaces for the arms. We're now going to work down the rest of the body of the cardigan. This is literally just double crochets back and forth until you get to 10 rows. I've done 10 rows. This is a size 0 to 3 months. So this is for little tiny humans. You can make them bigger by increasing the hook size, which then increases the stitch sizes. But that's entirely up to you. When you get to the spaces for the armholes, make sure you go into the stitch, not the space. Otherwise it will look very peculiar and will make your life a lot harder when you come to do the sleeves a bit later on. Yeah, make sure you go into the chain stitches rather than into the space. I have tried to do it so you can see it properly, but my camera just wouldn't focus for this bit. And caused a bit of issues and a bit of a pain in the bum. But I did try. So yeah, do make sure that you go into the stitches for this bit, and then just continue working your double crochets to the other side. I have made quite a few of these cardigans now, and I have sped this process up for you all, just so that it's not 2 hours long, and to point the important parts. But yeah, I have made quite a few of these cardigans now, so I am quite inept to them and can do them very quickly. This one did take me, I have to admit, a few days. We're here at the other armhole now, so just make sure you go into those stitches and not the space. Otherwise, when you come to do the arms later, it will be very difficult for you to do. Working to the end of this row now, we have come to the end of this row, and now all you're going to want to do is chain one and then work back, just literally just work double crochets back and forth until you have 10 rows, and I will see you on the other end or at the other end of this bit. And here we go. I have my desired 10 rows for this part of the project. We're now going to make the ribbing at the bottom. The ribbing is the same process for the base and round the cuffs of the arms and round the hood. So you're just going to want to chain, I think I chained 8 for the base, a 6 or 8. It doesn't really matter, but the length of your ribbing is your desired length that you want it to be. So if you want it to be a little bit longer, then you do more chains. If you want it to be shorter, then you do more chains. But Right, so the ribbing just comprises of single crochets into the back loop, which is what I've done back down the chain. Then you turn your work, slip stitch into the next 2 stitches, and then turn it and work back down what you've just done. This creates a nice ribbed effect and just gives the cardigan a bit, it makes it look a little bit neater and a little bit more tidier. But yeah, working into the back loop only for the ribbing, just go literally just up and down, making sure that you slip stitch at the base of the cardigan each time you go down, and it'll obviously join to your work and create the baseline for create the ribbing along it. For a long time, I had a very love-hate relationship with doing ribbing on projects. I just found it really tedious and really time-consuming. But actually, the effect that it gives on a lot of garments is quite nice and does give it that little bit more of a professional look at the end. So I do try and persevere with it now. And most of my cardigans now, you'll find, do have this on the bottom specifically and the cuffs. I don't tend to do it where the buttonholes are, just because it just looks a bit bizarre. But that's just personal preference, so it's entirely up to you how you do it. We're now at the end, and you can see that I have finished all the ribbing on the base of the cardigan. Now, what you're going to want to do is make sure that your last bit ends you at the end, and then just do your single back loops to the top, to the end of your work. And now what we're going to do is we're going to create the buttonholes and the edging for where the buttons will go. So chain 1 and turn your work so that you're working to the neck of the cardigan along the side, and you're just going to single crochet into the spaces as you go along. There isn't really a right or wrong place for these, and it really does all depend on how tight your work is or how loose your work is, but it really doesn't matter as long as you have roughly the same amount of stitches on either side. This bit is it can be very fiddly and can be very time consuming, but just work specifically on the left side, which might be where you've finished. On the left side of your cardigan, all you're going to do is crochet up and down, single crochets up and down until you've created that side. Yeah. I have now finished this side and finished this part of it. It should look a little bit something like this. We're now going to cut that end off and work the other side, which is where you'll have your buttonholes. It is the same process on the other side, just you'll have I put 3 buttonholes in, only because buttoning things up when you have small tiny humans can be a pain in the bum. I did used to do 5, but I've just found that 3 works better and is a lot easier to do. So you're going to work single crochets up to the neck, and then on the second round you're going to work down, and when you think it's you're far enough from the neck, but not down to the bottom, just work your buttonholes. Yeah, just work your buttonholes. I've now come back down and got a significant way down my work to start adding buttonholes. Now, it really all depends on the buttons that you're using, but I tend to chain 3 and then miss 3 stitches and work the next single crochet into the 4th stitch, and then work 5 single crochets and repeat this until I have 3 holes. But if you want to add more buttonholes, that's entirely up to you. If you want to only have 2 or 1, again, that's entirely up to you. It really all depends on what you prefer, I guess. I prefer 3. Now I have done my buttonholes, I've just worked to the end of the row and chained 1, and now I'm going to work back up to the neck. In where you've created the holes for the buttonholes, you're going to work into the space, not into the stitches. I've just found this looks neater, but again, it's entirely up to you. So work into the space for the buttonholes and not the stitch. I also found it keeps it together a bit more, rather than being a bit loose. But again, it's personal preference. A lot of crochet is personal preference. If you're a beginner, then maybe look at other people's videos to learn how to do this, because an understanding of crochet is key here. But if you're coming and you know what you're doing and you know stitches and things like that, then this is a great little project for you, for any babies that are in your life. I have done a hexagon cardigan version of this cardigan, but I only tend to do them for older children, just because I don't like little fingers getting stuck in little holes. But here we go, we're at the top, nearly at the top now, of the work, and then we just finish it off and fasten it off when you get to the top. And there you have it, a cardigan without arms but the buttonholes. You can do this cardigan in any order you feel the need. I've just found that doing these bits first is easier. So we're now going to work on the armholes. The arms are exactly the same for either side. So on the chain 3 space that we did and the 3 stitches underneath the arms, you're going to work into the middle one of these. You're going to work 5 double crochets. So 1 will obviously go into that under the arm stitch. It is very fiddly and it will test some patience getting some of these into some of these spaces, but you should be okay. So just work 5 double crochets first of all, and then you're going to do a double crochet decrease. So this is a difficult concept if you're not used to doing things like this, But it is so you start doing a double crochet and then you stop before you pull through the second lot of loops, and then you start it again and then pull through both. But I'll show you that when we get to that point in a second. So we're now at that point. So I've started a double crochet, not finished it, started one again. I've got 3 loops on my hook, and then you pull through all 3. So that's how you do a double crochet increase. You want to repeat this round. So 5 double crochets and then the decrease. Repeat this round until you get to the end of the round. And then just join the end of the round with a slip stitch. Now you'll notice that I do something a bit peculiar at the end of this round, but I found that this gives a lot neater join, and you don't see the join as much if you do it this way. So here I am at the end of the row. Getting to the end of the row, I join with a slip stitch, which is just a pain in the bum. Here we go. Join with a slip stitch, then I chain 1 and I turn my work and work back on myself. I found that this works and makes things look neater, but this row you're going to do 4 double crochets, sorry, and then do your decrease. 4 doubles and then do your decrease, and that's how you repeat that round. That just brings the tops of the arms in a little bit and makes it not quite so wide for you, and then you're able just to work round as you go. I have started doing this, working back on myself, joining with a slip stitch, chaining 1, and then turning my work and working back. I started doing this a few months back. I've honestly just found that it creates less of a seam and you're able to see the seam less. But if you want to work continuously round, then that's entirely up to you. There's no right or wrong way of doing it. I just prefer doing it this way because I think it looks neater. We're now getting to the end of this row, so join with a slip stitch when you get to the end, chain 1, and then if you want to turn your work and work back on yourself, then that's entirely up to you. If you just want to chain 1 and continue round, then that's also entirely up to you. Here you go, you can see now. Now that you've finished that second row of decreases, you are just going to work round until you have 10 rows of the sleeve. We will come back to where I have done this sleeve and finished this sleeve off, and I'm at the end of the other sleeve so that you can see the ribbing. It is the same as the ribbing that we did round the bottom of the cardigan, only the difference is you're working it in the round, and you also do 3 slip stitches instead of 2 slip stitches. This just makes it a little bit tighter and a little bit more cuff-like. So yeah, I will see you on that point. And here we go. We're at this point now. You can see that I have finished the sleeve that we started on earlier on, and I'm now on the second sleeve, and we're just coming to the ribbing part. You can see the difference that it does make, but I do a round of single crochets first, just so that it's tight. This is again personal preference. You don't have to do this part if you don't want to, but I like to. So yeah, I just single crochet round, and it also gives me a foundation to work with for the rest of the cardigan, or for the rest of the sleeve, sorry. And I'm able to create the cuff a bit better. Right, we're now at the end of that round. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to slip stitch here again into the first single crochet that you did. Chain, I think I made the cuffs quite long for this one. I think I chained 8. I think it's 8. Yeah, 7, 8. Yeah, 8. But if you want to make the cuffs longer, you can make the cuffs longer. If you want to make them shorter, you make them shorter. That's entirely up to you. So you are, again, it's just the same as we did at the base of the cardigan. It's just working into the back loop only, all the way around until you get to the other side. And then you are going to want to slip stitch 3 at the base rather than 2. This just brings it in a little bit tighter for you and creates a better cuff. So here you go, slip stitch 3 round, and then work back loop only back to the top. You can obviously see the base where it is, and yeah. So here we go, work back up to the top and then chain 1 and turn around and come back down again. This is a very long process and it can be quite tedious and time consuming, but it's all worth it in the end. At the end of the day, the effect is very, very nice. Yeah, so just work all the way around and I'll see you just before we finish at the end. We're now at the end. Make sure that you start at the top for this last bit. So you're starting at the end of the sleeve. It'll just make crocheting it together a little bit easier, or crocheting the cuffs together a little bit easier. And this is the same for both cardigans, but you are going to slip stitch down to join them, and then it also creates a bit of a rib as well, and then it just looks a bit better. So here you go, slip stitch both sides together and join them together like so. Right, now that that is all done, the cuffs, once you have finished this, the cuffs will be finished, and that is the sleeves finished. Join this off. You can sew in the ends now, or you can sew in the ends when the whole project is finished. I tend to do it as I go along because I'm lazy and I get bored of sewing in, so I tend just to do it as I go along. There you go, cut it off, and you have 2 sleeves. Next, we're going to do the hood. Now, you don't have to do a hood for this cardigan, but if you do want it to be a dinosaur cardigan, you will have to add a hood to it. You can just leave it like this and just add buttons to it and make it look cute like this. So it's entirely up to you what you want to do, but we're going to do the hood now. So slip stitch and join. So you are going to want to make sure that you've got 6 spaces, 6 chains, 6 spaces from the end to where you join your work, only because when we do the ribbing round the edge of the hood, that's going to have 6 chains to start with. So yeah, this is a very simple process, this bit here. It is literally working back and forth with double crochets all the way along and all the way to the top until it measures approximately 15 centimeters. I think I did 12 rows, 15 rows. I think it might have been 15 rows in the end. So just work to the other side, leaving that space like you did at the beginning. When you get to that other side, do make sure that you leave space so that we can do the ribbing on the other side as well, and make sure that make sure that you leave the space, at least 6 stitches. Your where you did your buttonholes counts as 2, so yeah, that counts as 2. Then you are literally just going to chain 1 and work double crochets back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, making sure you chain 1 at the beginning of each row, and I will see you at the top. I now have the desired length, and I've got to this point. What we're now going to do is we're going to sew the top together. You're going to want to do this inside out, so that you can flip it round. So as you can see the back of the cardigan. This is how I'm going to sew it. I'm going to sew it like this, this way round. So there's the back of the cardigan, pull the bits together and just sew it so it's into a point. And this will create your hood, and then we'll do the ribbing round the edge of the hood, to just make it look neater. Yeah. Once you've sewn it all the way to the end, tie it off and sew your ends in. You can do this now or later, it's entirely up to you. But like I said, I do mine as I go along, otherwise I just get bored and annoyed with it. So here you go. Now you've done this point, sew your ends in into the space. There you go. I hate sewing in ends. I just hate it. God, it's so tedious. Once you've done this, you're going to want to flip it the right way round. There we go, and you now have a cardigan with a hood. Now, you work from the left-hand side. I found that this is the easiest way to do it. Single crochet to the base of the hood, and then you're going to, single crochet to the base of the hood, and then we're just going to work like we have done on the sleeves and like we have done on the base of the cardigan. You're going to chain 6, work up single crochets, or work down, sorry, to the base. But this time we have no stitches to go into, so you're just going to have to go into the areas around the hood. I found I did do it originally with single crochets around the hood and then went back on myself, but it just looked very peculiar, so I didn't do it. So yeah, you're going to want to chain 7 in total, but you'll have 6 stitches by the end because that first one counts as a single crochet. So yeah, chain your 7, sorry, and then work back down it. This then creates the ribbing round the hood. Make sure that you do go into every space and do try and go around the hood, and then work all the way around the hood. It is just the same as we did with the base of the cardigan and the same as we did with the sleeves. But also this time you want to do like you did with the base and just slip stitch 2. If you slip stitch 3, then your hood will come in on itself and look a bit bizarre. I made that very mistake myself. So yeah, just slip stitch 2 when you get to the base. When you get to the end. And I will see you on the other side. When I get to the other side, you will notice that I will have already added the buttons and I have sewn the bases on. You will notice that there is a gap where you do your chain. You are just going to sew this to the top where we left that space. So you should have 6, but I'll show you that when we get there. Here we go, guys. So I've done a bit of it, and now I'm going to show you what it's going to look like, or your work round. As you can see, there is a bit of a space or a bit of a gap at the top. When you've gone all the way round, I have now completed this and I have added my buttons. As you can see, I just sewed it to the top where we left the space, and it creates this nice little thing. I have added my buttons as well. As you can see, just 3 little buttons that say "Made with Love" on them, and made sure they are lined up with the holes that we created earlier on. Yeah, so that is the cardigan made. That is the full cardigan made. So you can leave it like this if you want to, or you can make spikes, which is what we're going to do now. Now I have added the pattern for this bit on to the video so that you can see what you're having to do. You will want to use a different colour to the main colour of your cardigan, just so you can see the difference. But I have added the pattern for this spike to this video, or to this part of the video, just to make life easier for you. You are going to want to make 6 spikes in total, and you can then place them strategically along the 2 along the, I did 2 along the hood and then 4 down the body, at various intervals down. So yeah, pause the video or write the pattern for these down, for the spikes down. You can use a stitch marker for this part, but I just found it was too fiddly taking it in and out, so I just made sure that I counted. I couldn't do this while doing anything else, so yeah, I just made sure that I counted and did it that way. I will see you on the other side of this part where I will place it all up and you'll see it all finished. here we go. We're now at the end of spike number 1. Cut it off. Make sure you leave a long tail so you can sew it to the cardigan itself. Yeah, make sure you leave it so it's long so you can sew it to the cardigan. I'm going to grab the cardigan and you can see, there we go, have a spike. So you can see how to place it. Now, it is entirely up to you how you place it on your cardigan, but I found 2 along the head and then 4 along the body a lot, it just looks better. So that is entirely up to you. And here is the end result. This cardigan is for 0 to 3 months, but like I said, you could make it bigger, just change your hook size. It's the same process, just to make it bigger. But I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you come back for more. There will be more video tutorials. Hopefully I'll get a little better with filming. It has taken me a while to film this video, but I hope to see you all very soon, and I look forward to seeing you all. Do follow me on TikTok. I'm over there as well with videos daily, every other day, or thereabouts. Thank you all, and I'll see you all very soon.